Cancelled pieces of lost video game art can rarely be found by the leaks or behind-the-scene productions, even announcements.
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage the Cowardly Dog Show!
Courage the Cowardly Dog is a childhood horror for every Cartoon Network fan, alongside the misadventures of Flapjack. But Courage never had a standalone game, until an author claimed to have found the cancelled. There is no such thing as a cancelled game of Courage the Cowardly Dog. This game from last year still holds up a small spotlight on the internet, so on this episode of Video Game Venom, we'll be taking a look into the game Courage the Cowardly Dog OW. It's been a while. I discovered this game a few months back, maybe even before the year, and my ears finally piqued interest when, well, a certain somebody kinda talked about it recently. Listen, this is no different when I put on my Kanye Quest video and then he posts right after. I never understood what this game had to offer. I thought it was some fan game on the PS1 like Bloodborne, but that is not even close. It's more of its own game. I played the game fully, and I can tell you that this is shockingly a creepy experience. It even has lore behind it. So I will present to you the footage of my gameplay. Before I actually started the game, I sensed that I would stumble upon a self-aware creepypasta game, and therefore, I dug into the files. The first thing that I noticed was the README file. It read, "When you find a dead end, just erase time." This would mean that each time I would find a dead end where I have nowhere to go, I would have to delete the save file. I dug a little bit deeper, and the next thing I find was in the logs. This read, "She followed the rules, he broke the rules. The OW was all the way to the right." I figured this may not make any sense until later on, and I was right about that. Now, it's about time to start the game. When I started the game, I was prompted with this screen, an important screen, and it read, "This is an unfinished game. We've done our best to come up with a playable version of it. But keep in mind that this game has bugs, broken levels, and nearly unplayable sections. We've established that in this build, there are at least 3 levels connected to completely broken sections. We couldn't find how to access them, even though it's possible to do it, but we were able to put data missing screens on them. So if you find one of those levels, please try to describe how exactly you found it in the game. There are 3 connections to these data missing screens, which would mean it would lead us to dead ends, which would mean that this game is in fact replayable." Oh, I do not like the controls for the keyboard at all. Well, we start off with our very distressed Courage walking around the bag's house. I wasn't able to go through any other doors unless it is Courage's room, in which the computer from the show is there. I should also tell you that the theme song has been playing in a loop this entire time, and it was bothering me. And with my Courage the Cowardly Dog fan instinct kicks in, I went up to the computer, and thankfully I was able to interact with it. Nothing really happened after that, in which I just decided to go back downstairs, only to find that the room is dark red now. I walked around for a little bit trying to find something else to activate, until I stumbled upon the kitchen door. Once I clicked it, the light started to go away and everything just seemed to go back to normal. That is, I went back to Courage's room, and... oh shit. It's that one dude from the episode. Also known as the spirit of the harvest moon. One of Courage's disturbing villains. Find them. At the time being, I didn't know what to find, but only to realize later on that I have to find these dead ends. All three of them that I'm tasked with. I figure out that I would now have access to the front door. So outside I went. I think. Let's go here. Oh! Oh, shit. I didn't think I'd belong in another horrifying game, but besides that, I just kinda stood around. Just a little stunned by this. Yeah, buddy. Same reaction. I finally head forth to the hallway, but what caught my ears is just the sound of birds chirping, all the way to my left. We'll talk about the birds and the bees in the wall in a minute. I've seen it from far away, but I approach the middle of the room. This holds a symbol with a selective amount of chairs. Looks cultish to me, don't it? It took me a while, but I realized that this symbol is trying to guide me to the selective chairs I need to click. So I followed it. That's so strange. Okay, ooh. Now, I should actually get down to talking about the three connections. This puzzle serves as a checkpoint. With that in mind, I'll describe the three paths I took, but in a different order. It'll make more sense if I lined it up this way. Trust me. The birds you heard from earlier were actually supposed to guide me through this wall. I had to walk through it. In my first gameplay, I was required to hit the question mark, but instead, I would have to jump off. So I did. Okay, it just crashes when I jump off. As the game crashes, I load it back up only to find that I spawned back into the bag's house, with no furniture present. While walking around upstairs, something interesting happened. Oh shit. Some of you might catch that the sound you heard is actually Morse code. The Morse code translates to learn the way of the old wind. I went back downstairs only to get a very uncomfortable energy. If you let the clock in the center chime 12 times, the game crashes. I can say without a doubt that I missed a step, and that I did. Some players believe that if you wait exactly 12 times or before the 12th chime, you can enter in the kitchen door, but that wasn't possible for me. What you could also do is jump over the rail. This would not trigger the clock, but it would allow access to the kitchen door. If you enter the door, this screen pops up. This is one of the 3 data missing screens you'll receive. One of the 3 endings, that is. On my first genuine playthrough, I clicked on the question mark and head back. When I did, I didn't notice anything different until I look around the room. And I really noticed something completely different. Oh shit. This was a memorial for Muriel Baggs, with a very eerie picture of her. Interacting with the picture will suddenly crash the game. Oh, when I loaded back up in the game, I was in a very unfamiliar place. I am in the spotlight, and there ahead of me stood a chair. I couldn't tell if I'm supposed to walk towards it or just blindly walk in a maze. I say that because I noticed a particular pixel was leading me to the other direction. I noticed that there was a very funny sound playing in the background. That should not be a normal sound. That's because it was meant to be put in a spectrogram. When done so, you are greeted with a screen, a map. This is very difficult to use though, because you would have to do some really good timing to navigate. Gee, thanks for the tip! I look a little further and I was really quick to find a good solution, a very easy one. I would have to download a software named Reshade, and that's exactly what I did. Using this, I was able to turn off the darkness and, well, just show me the objects themselves. And that's what it did. But what I quickly noticed is that there were two paths, one on my left and one on my right. Since the one on my right wasn't already shown in the darkness, because there was no goal to be seen there, I head there first. When I was walking, I reminded myself of the notepad that I read earlier. She followed the rules, he broke the rules, the OW was all the way to the right. From this point on, we can get that the OW is actually the old wind. So maybe we should break the rules too. I had a long, good walk, and then I finally stumbled upon another spotlight, a smaller one with the question mark. This teleported me into pitch darkness. At this point, I knew that I should walk forward, and then I stumbled upon a very large house. Behind the house was another memorial for Robert W. When interacting with it, my game suddenly crashed. Again. I opened the game back up, only to spawn back in the bag's house in complete darkness. Yeah, this is not giving me any red flags at all. I went upstairs and... Oh no. Oh, I hate this. Oh shit. Oh! Hello? Hi there. I can't move. I can't move. Oh. Again, from my first initial playthrough, I didn't know what to expect when I come across a data missing screen. At this point, I restarted my save and head to the next path. Or the last one. This time I went to the left, leading towards the chair. It was a very long walk. I have to feel bad for the person that really wanted to use the spectrogram map and then just suddenly walk into these fake paths. Because there's a lot of them. Way to go, developers! Screwing people over. I finally arrived at the chair and interacted with it. Did I sit on it? No, I crashed back into the bag's house once again, because every ending I have to spawn in one. But I got to collect coins. These coins share the same resemblance as the symbol with the chairs. Once I collected some of the coins, something very eerie had to happen. Hey! Whoa! No! Oh, no! No, we're not doing that. You bet your sweet bippy my skin started to crawl. It doesn't help that player 2 just suddenly happens to be Muriel from earlier. The tension is just more eerie than ever. More than the other ending, in my opinion. I still collected more of the coins and head up to Courage's room. I collected the last few and her picture suddenly darkens. And my game gets another data missing screen. Wow. Way to send shiver me frickin' timbers! At that point, I fully played through the game. But there was a lot to unpack here. I figured that there were some pieces that I was missing, and actually there was at least one big one. Each time that there was a save, the text file by itself would leave off several phrases. When put together, it reads, "Do you remember a time when the world was good and fair? I don't." Another one to unpack is that the data missing screens are actually hiding something in the darkness. When brightened up, you get a few bits of dialogue. One of them reads, "Father wasn't home." Another one, which maybe happens to be the second path I took, reads, "Mr. Wheeler was there to greet me." Another one also reads, "It was her, Eleanor." From what I believe, Mr. Wheeler presumes to be Robert W., the scratched memorial we see at the back of the house. And that also appears to be the Beast. And the name of the asset is also called Real Wheeler. I researched to see if there was anyone named Robert that was involved with Courage the Cowardly Dog. What I found so far is somebody named Robert Winthrop, who was the producer of Season 1. In the comments, everyone was discovering each clue at a time. I sat here and thought long and hard about the 4 dialogues I was given, through the data missing screens and the save file. I thought about it and I think I kinda structured a little bit of a story. But big disclaimer first. To be sure that I kinda had the same idea, I had to watch Matpat's video. But there was something I completely disagree with, in which he said,
"The old wind was all the way to the right. Wind in the Courage the Cowardly Dog show tends to be linked with the passage of time or death in some way. The old wind, I suspect, operates similar to these. It's a wind that makes you grow either younger or older."
2 things assured. First of all, I do agree that there is a cult being involved. Second, I also agree that Eleanor and Muriel are one and the same. I say this in the surface level, meaning that there was a correlation in the data missing screen. It was her, Eleanor, maybe referencing Muriel. But in the files, there is a file named Eleanor, in which it is in reference to Muriel's picture. Those are the 2 major aspects I agree with, even the story of a passing. But here's my belief in the old wind phrase. I believe that the phrase "the old wind" is an alias. You know how God had many aliases like Heavenly Father, the Chainbreaker, and the Holy Spirit. The Old Wind is an alias for Old Wheeler, or Old Winthrop. I believe that there is a cult who was worshipping this beast, who broke the boundaries of death and came back to life. That's why the name was scratched off in his memorial. But let's start from the beginning. Father wasn't home. We'll call this father figure Jake. Jake isn't home because he was visiting someone in their deathbed. It was her, Eleanor. On her bed, his thoughts about the passing was hard for him to take in, as she might mean a lot to him. To which he asked to another person or to himself, "Do you remember a time when the world was good and fair? I don't." Surely she lived a good life and passed away. But one other person achieved to return from the grave. Jake caught wind of the cult who worships this being. And in order to dive deep into it, he must follow the ways of the old wind. Somewhere down the line of death, whether he died or not, he knew. She followed the rules, and he broke them. The old wind was to the right. If she followed the ways of the old wind, then she could have broken the rules of life. That's why I said that the old wind is probably another name that the cult has deemed their messiah. The old wind isn't the wind of time. The old wind is a name. Jake had traveled the ways of the old wind, going the right, in which he was greeted by Mr. Wheeler. Jake is greeted by Mr. Wheeler, possibly in the different form of him. And he knew he had to follow him, because if he sees Mr. Wheeler this way, back from the dead, then he too can bring back Muriel from the grave. My theory stands, at least partial of it. Mr. Wheeler was resurrected. He had already gained immortality, at least some part of it. My only question is, who is this other character that said Father wasn't home? And I might get a thing or two wrong, which Mr. Wheeler might have greeted this character or the father figure. Who knows? I think it's about time we wrap this up. I think we did a good job today. But I want to know your thoughts on this game. So go ahead and put the comment down below. And honestly, a huge thank you for watching this video, if you made it this far. If you liked the video, then please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode of Video Game Venom. Peace!